Hey, and welcome back to VFX Tutors. I know it's been quite a long time since I've uploaded stuff. Been quite busy with other stuff and had have not had COVID, but I've had a pretty bad cough, and it's not the best trying to record stuff whilst coughing. But anyway, sorry if I cough through this, but we're gonna get through this boo-boo project. It's been massive, but hopefully it's been helpful. So in our last one, we did the lighting, and I'm just trying to remember what we did because it's been such a long time, but I think we got to a point where it was sort of rendering nice. And now in this one, we're just going to render the render passes, and we'll go through and sort of explain what the render passes do. This is not going to be super complicated. It's going to be a basic setup. So I'm going to open up my last lighting scene that I've got here. We did this shot, and I've just not had any time to do any of the animation, so we will just be doing a single frame. So hopefully when you guys come to do this, it'll be a very similar process. So yeah, so I'm just going to open up Arnold and open up my Arnold render view. And let's just check where we were from last time. So hopefully this renders nicely. Cool. So we've got our render sort of lighting set up. I'm very happy. You spend more time on it, and you'll probably get better results, and depending on how you want to do. But I'm happy with this. So one thing to take note of that I am using also the AI shadow map to cast shadows. So there will be some sort of shadowing here, where it's sort of casting onto here. So it does make a massive difference, but you'll get stuff coming in. But we'll mask that out. So anyway, we're happy with this. It's not the best pose, but it'll do for what we need. Cool. So what we need to do is set up some render passes. And when you render, it automatically calculates all this anyway, so it doesn't actually add time to the render times. It just means that you get to access it. And the simplest way to do that is go to your render settings up at the top here. And you usually have it on common. Then you go over to it and go to AOVs. And we're only going to use the built-in AOVs. I'm just going to pick some simple ones that we're just going to use for like almost just building it basically. But if you're into comp and stuff like that, you'll probably want to bring more things so you can fiddle around with it. But we're just going to do the basics here. So I haven't got the CryptoMat stuff installed, and that's another thing altogether. So we can just load in ID. And basically, because these are all whatever separate parts there are on our model, this will allow us to isolate certain parts. You have normal, which we won't use, because we're going to keep it very simple. So I'm just going to go to my Z, which I don't think we'll actually need either, but it'll be fun to look at, sort of thing. And you might need it for other projects. Don't think we'll need albedo, but we'll put that in just to have a look. Cool, and a lot of this stuff we don't use. So we'll add our diffuse direct and our diffuse indirect, because what we want, because these combined together will make our diffuse. But if we have both these, we can affect them in different ways. We'll want our emission for our eyes, just so we can change the color of the eyes or add some glow to it or something like that. And just scroll down. Let's bring in our shadow map. That's obviously for our shadows and stuff. Let's bring in our specular direct and indirect, which is the same situation as diffuse direct and indirect. We don't have any subsurface scattering or any transmission. And I'm sure I'll probably forget stuff. Yeah, and you can bring other stuff in as well. So I'm also going to bring the AI shadow mat as well. And what we can do, I'm just going to select all of these and we can have a look at them. So if you look down here, you can see that these have all been added to our AOV list. We are actually missing one, which is quite useful, and that's ambient occlusion pass. So there are two ways that we can do this. So we can add a custom AOV. And we'll just call this AO. Create. And you see now it's created an AO here. So now what we want to do is go select AOV node. I've clicked on this little arrow down, select AOV node. And over here it's selected our AOV node basically. And what we want to do, we want to go to default shader, select the little checker box, select Arnold, and we go to ambient occlusion. So now that's added our ambient occlusion to it, and it's as simple as that. And when we open up our render view, we can have a look as well. So the other way that we can do this, we can do this as a render layer as well. So I'm done with doing this, so I'm just going to close this down. So I'm going to open up my render layers, which is this sort of a clackerboard with the 2 squares. And there are 2 reasons why you might want to do it this way instead, and we'll compare them and you'll see. So if I click, oh, not 2, let's delete that one. Click on the plus and create a render layer, and we'll just call this AO. Then we'll right click and we'll create a collection. So the collection is basically, I want this separate render layer, and in that render layer, I want these items. So I am just going to select, oh, I need to make sure that, and not select, make sure I've got my collection selected, then middle mouse click and drag that over to there. So anything now under this namespace or this this collection here will now go through this render layer. So now we need to tell it what to do. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to create a shader override, and I'm just going to go to my checker box, and then I'm just going to select ambient occlusion again. So at the moment we've only got our scene on the render layer, so whatever's in scene, so this is not activated yet. I can show you between the 2. Cool, so I'm just going to render and update full scene. Excuse me, sorry. Cool, and that's just let that run for a little bit. It's just so it looks a little bit clearer. Cool, that should do. Just gonna pause. Oh no, sorry, it was updating, so I'll just pause that now. So if we go up to the top, we've got this tab called Beauty. This is showing us everything that's rendering together. So now if I select this, we can see that we've got all our AOVs here. And we've got loads here. We don't need all these. Most of these are here just so we can sort of have a look, and like the best thing to do is just it's not tasking to load them all in and just have a look. That's pretty much how I do a lot of things. So the first thing we'll look at is the AO. And you can see with this particular AO, if we just frame the whole thing, the ambient occlusion is affecting the character and the set and everything that's in there, which is fine. You can probably create an expression to remove all these sort of things, but that can be a bit of an annoyance where you can do it under a render layer. And because we've done it as a render layer, we only have the character. I'll show you that in a bit. We'll just go through these AOVs. So we've got the ID. It's pretty self-explanatory sort of thing. We've got colored IDs of all our areas, and depending on how you set this up, you can set this up more custom. For me, I just left this as it is. We've got normal, which we didn't add. I think that's actually got stuck in here from previous ones, which we won't be using. P. The one that we will be using is Z. And you'll probably look at this and go, oh, what's going on? Nothing's really happening. So it's always over, it's kind of exposed. So if you go to -10, you can see that actually our Z depth is there. It's just super overexposed. So now we have our albedo, which is, I don't know what's going on there. We've got a diffuse direct. So sometimes this is going to be quite difficult, especially this character might not be that easy to sort of differentiate between them. So if we go to diffuse indirect, and you can, it is that, I don't know if you can see that, but if I bring up the exposure, you can see it is there. It's just not loads on here. And we merge these together and we can boost them in different ways. So we've got our emission, and because we've left our plate in there, that will come in under the emission. So when we do actually render this, we won't be rendering the plate, but you can see that the emission has brought out the eye. So if we go to our indirect diffuse, I think these are a lot of things that may have been brought over or got stuck in here, but have a play around. And obviously a lot of this, I could turn the image plane off, but you probably wouldn't see what the shadows are actually doing. So obviously when we render this, we're not going to be rendering it with the image plane, but you can see here the shadow is working here. And you got your shadow diffuse. And these are all just different passes that you can use. It's your shadow mask, shadow matte, which is kind of affecting everything. So we've got our specular, which is effectively all of our specular together, which we won't render because we're going to render our direct and indirect. So our direct, you can see how it's very slightly different. But when we go on our indirect, that's the other bit. So it's kind of so we can break it down and sort of edit, grade, change everything. We've got maximum control over it, basically. So that's kind of a run through of just AOVs. Nothing amazing. We will, I don't know why it's got all of these in here. I think it's just got stuck, but anyway. So I'll just quickly go back to, bring that back over actually. So I'll just go on my ambient occlusion, and you can see it's just got everything in set. And even though we do need this for our shadows and stuff, and it does help. So if I go on to my render layers, you can see it's on the full scene, because this will automatically render with everything anyway. So if I just select, just view my ambient occlusion layer, if I go on beauty, press play, we take a while for the cogs to turn. And it's only doing it on the character. So I can just, let me just turn off that for now. Cool. And you can see why that could be quite useful. Now we only have the ambient occlusion on the character, none of the background stuff. So there's benefit, pros and cons for both of them. But I think we probably want to hide this sort of eyeball, eye sort of thing, but we can mask that out with the emission, so it's absolutely fine. And yeah, we're pretty much done with that. Let's go back to our render layer and turn everything back on. So the first thing that I kind of want to do is actually just make sure my project is set and it's on some stupid Shrek thing. And we want O2. We want 8. And we'll do it to our so we'll just save it on lighting 2. Cool. So now if we go to our render settings, go to common, and up here it should have, if you look up into here, because we've set our project, we should have our project where it's saved and it's all going to. So that's all good. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to render them off as separate AOVs. You can do them as they are sort of all merged, basically merged AOVs if you wanted to. For this, we're just going to keep it separate so it's easier for you to sort of see. So I'm going to change my name extension to name.hash.extension. That's basically saying we're going to render out an image sequence. And we probably don't want to render out an image sequence. Well, you will want to render out an image sequence, but for this case, I'm only rendering out one frame because I just haven't got the time to do a full image sequence. So we're just going to render out this frame that we've done. Cool. So that's just going to render out that one frame now. And I think, let me just double check what the resolution is on this. I think this is at half res. Just double check. Yeah, this is at half res with overscan. So let's do this at the full res. 4226. We're only doing one frame, so it's not a big deal. I might actually need to double check why this is a funny resolution. Okay. It's been a while since I've actually looked at this, but we'll just go with what is in there. So I'm just going to make sure my render camera is this one. I'll render, and because it's single frame, I'm just going to put my camera AA and 644, very basic sort of setup. We don't want any motion blurs, we're not doing anything like that. AOVs. You can add overscan here automatically, but we've already added it, and we don't necessarily actually need it for this shot. Well, we actually do because of the foot, but it should be fine. So now what it's going to do, it's going to render all these. We don't actually... So we're just going to go off diffuse direct, emission, shadow matte, specular indirect. We've got our AO. So yeah, we're pretty much ready to go. We've got loads of passes in here we can have a look at, and feel free to add more if you want to. So we've got all that set up, and I'm just going to click close that down. So there are a couple of things that we want to make sure we do before we actually render this. So the one thing that I will do is I always just going to update the full scene. Just to double check nothing's gone crazy. I'm just going to bring my... We will turn this off. I just want to make sure that we've got we've not got anything funky, because if you're rendering off lots and lots, you really want to sanity check your scenes, just in case there's anything weird going on in there. We've got AO, ID, all these ones that seem to be stuck, even though they're not in there. Diffuse direct. Diffuse indirect, which we can't really see, but it's shadow matte, and we've got them all there basically. So now I want to definitely turn off my image plane. I always double check everything. I'm a massive checker, unfortunately. And we're going to have these all as separate EOVs, so I don't have to worry about cool. So let's... I know we've already saved it, but save it. And what we want to do is go to rendering, render, and we can go to render sequence, open up the box. So here we've got our camera. We want to all render enabled layers and all renderable all render enabled cameras. We've only got one in there, so that's fine. We don't really need to do that. We've already set that in the render settings. And it will automatically pick up where we're going. So if we render sequence, that will now open up the render view, which has popped up to the other side. I'm not sure if I'll be able to drag that until that's actually done. So what I will do is keep tapping escape. If you need to cancel it, you can just tap escape. And I'll just drag that window over. Or you don't have to. That's probably a bit overkill for me to really have to worry about that. But it just means now I can do this for you. It's because I've had it over there before. Cool. If I just render the sequence, hopefully that will kick off. And this, because we're rendering at a high resolution and all that, this might take a while. So I probably will just pause it and fast forward it here. It's always good to like just double check things are going at first, because sometimes they could. You kind of want to leave it until you've kind of 100% it's actually going. But this is a good way to sort of view it. But anyway, I am going to stop here and we'll catch up when this is finally done. And we'll just look for it. Then after that, it would be just comping it together in Nuke, which should be pretty simple. I know this has probably been quite a long tutorial to show you how to do AOVs. There you are, you can see it's going. And yeah, hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, it really does help. It's always nice to hear your comments. And yeah, we'll see you. No, we won't. It's not ending yet. We'll carry this on in a minute when when it's finally rendered. Yeah, see you in about 1 second. Okay, so it's now finished rendering. Ooh, it's done both layers. Yeah, it's pretty much done. The next thing would be we can just open up our file and just double check that they're all there. So we're in the right one, the images. Cool. So we have our master layer and we have our AO layer here. I guess yeah, it's done all the AOVs as well with it. Probably didn't need to do the layers, but anyway. We've got our master layer. And let's just check we've got our EXRs in there. We've got everything that we need. And all these extra ones. Why? We didn't even select these. I don't know what's wrong with mine. It just must be stuck on there or something. But we've got all the passes that we need. So the next thing to really do is to bring this in to Nuke and just comp it all together. It's not going to be super complicated. It's just going to be some multipass compositing, just layering them up so we can sort of play around with them. Yeah, it's quite a long tutorial just for probably just doing minimal things, but hopefully you've enjoyed it, and see you in the next and probably final one, I guess, which will be compositing. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. It really does help. And yeah, look forward to finally getting this one over with, and we'll do smaller ones. I think afterwards this might have been a bit too big. So yeah. Anyway, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.